happy today. Okay, um, the technology is doing some things for me, but I think we're good now. But happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. Welcome to Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. This show is sponsored by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. We have conversations and we have items and things that you can do to kind of help you show up as yourself. One way that I spotlight that is by spotlighting our U cards, and I use our U cards to set the intention for today's show. And so the I am card for today's show is I am purpose. You are lovable, and the quote card is before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That's Jeremiah 1:5. And I like when those come up again, even after I shuffle and all that other kind of stuff, because I feel like I'm getting a message or a reminder. So, with that in mind, I am going to introduce you to the word for today, and the word is nice. This is going to be an interesting word because there's a lot of part of my life that I've taken on this label, and it's not like I have let this label go, but I can honestly say that this label is not running the show. So, with that in mind, I am going to bring up my guests so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, this is the moment in the show where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
My name is Tracy Scott. I am a daughter, sister, aunt, wife, mother, mortgage broker, connector, and I really hope I'm a good friend. I am an aspiring podcaster and author, and I strive to live my life as authentically as I can, and that is never static.
Got it. I got it. Well, welcome to this conversation. There's a lot of labels there that we'll see if they all show up, right?
Well, and I took them, I thought about it and I took them all in the order of in which they happened.
Right. Wow.
So,
See, I don't have that. I don't have that organization. My labels, they just come and go. They're just all over the place. I think that's why I've embraced the I'm my labels and I'm not my labels, because sometimes I just forget about them. Right.
yeah, me too. Yeah, sometimes you just have to say, forget that.
Right. So the question of the day is, how does the word nice land for you?
Well, that's really funny because when you first gave it to me, my first thought was, oh my gosh, that's boring.
That's not nice.
No, what in the world? That's such a blah,
Right.
And then I started reading articles and because I like to do that. I mean, my son gets it very honestly. He's like, they say your kids are you times whatever.
Mm,
Oh my gosh, my child will research stuff that I'm sitting there going, why would you care?
right.
But, he's like the random fat guy. But when I started reading, because I have an English degree.
Oh, okay.
So words are interesting to me, and where they come from is interesting to me. And the word nice actually comes from, and I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, but Nicias,
Nieces, right. Hmm.
and it means ignorant.
Wow.
Yeah. And like the progression of the word is really interesting because that's from Rome. So that would have been the Latin. The French meaning is stupid or simple-minded. Then around the 15th century in English, it became wanton or lascivious.
Wow.
So, I mean, let that one sink in just a little bit. And then it changed to shy or refined.
Right.
And then 16th century, it became fastidious or tasteful. And in the 17th century, it finally got to what we define it as today, which is pleasant.
Right. Wow.
So it took several centuries for it to actually get to what we usually think of
Right.
when we think of nice.
Wow.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't do that research, on it. I just saw how it showed up for me, and I was like, it's really fascinating to see one, how many years
Right.
and where nice has come from, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think the thing that was so interesting was when I just first sat with it and didn't look it up.
Hmm.
Um, I just remember thinking when I was in high school, and I think we're about the same age. So, when we were kids,
Hmm.
nice was just kind of, she's nice. I never wanted to be described as a nice girl because, and I know that sounds weird,
Right.
but and I have brothers. I didn't grow up with girls in my family. Most of my family are men. So I'm comfortable with guys. I'm just, you know, and anytime I would say to a friend of mine, hey, you should meet so and so, and he would say, well, what's she like? Well, in high school, they didn't want to hear she's nice.
Right.
She's a really nice girl.
Right.
Because that meant she's ugly, she's fat, she's not, she's
Wow.
I mean, that at least
Yeah.
where I lived, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't want to be just nice because that was
Right.
boring.
Right. Wow. I th
Um,
No, go ahead.
so I don't know. And I think the other thing that it implies is that you just don't have a lot of common sense
Right.
sometimes, especially for women,
Right.
which I'm not sure why there's a difference between men and women. If you say a woman is, oh, she's nice,
Right.
but oh, he's a nice guy.
Right. Yeah, it's an
It's a
endearing
different
thing, right?
connotation entirely.
Right. With a guy, there's a lot of gender kind of double standards
Absolutely.
that we have, right?
Absolutely.
But it's kind of interesting. It's like now I'm like really questioning my how it occurs to me now. But no, I wanted to be nice. I created Bill. I went by Bill because Bill was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And so there was a part of me that wanted to be, I don't want to say invisible, but just kind of like, very low key, not too, yeah,
Just under
pleasant,
under
right?
the radar.
Under the radar. It's like I show up when I can, and it just kind of go there. When you think of Bill Brown, it's like that's nice, right? And that's it. Yeah,
He's a nice guy.
there were so many people in my neighborhood and in my school. They had so many other adjectives associated with their
Right.
name that it
Right.
was just like, yeah, I don't want no part
Don't
of
want to
that.
do that.
I'll
Exactly.
just I'll just be nice, right?
Right.
And just
Right.
kind of go from there. But it's
Well,
like now it's because of the history that you took us through. I think that's why I think the nice has been uncomfortable for me at times
yeah.
because there's so much more associated with it.
Right. Well, and you were talking about the other adjectives that are associated with other people that you
Right.
didn't want.
Right.
And I found this very interesting. Um, one of the labels, I suppose would be the best word to use, is that this is attached to middle class white girls
Hmm.
specifically, because they don't want to be labeled slut or snob
Right. Hmm.
or trashy.
Right.
So if they're nice, they're just kind of status, but that's status quo. That's
Right.
not anything unusual,
Right.
but at least they're not one extreme or the other.
Right.
And you can come up with all kinds of ways to talk about those extremes.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting that it's literally associated with white girls,
Hmm.
because that puts every other ethnicity at an extreme.
Wow.
And generally, and this won't surprise you, I'm sure, the darker you are, it determines which end of that extreme you're on.
Right. Yeah, I got it.
And then if you're rich, you're on the other extreme, because you
Right.
can use that rich, you're equated as a snob because of what you have.
Right.
But to be in the middle is just nice.
Right. Wow. Who knew, right? It's like, right, it is, it is something that, um, I want to be, or I want to see people at, to be kind and be nice and just kind of, there's an agreeable place to be, not as a judgment or not as a less than,
Mm-hmm.
because, with my labels, I say, I am my labels and I'm not my labels.
Right.
So I am nice and I'm not nice.
Yeah.
And it's like embracing that. And so it is it is something that when, you know in some cases I chose to be nice. I
Right.
felt for whatever reason that's what I want to be, until the nice guy Bill wasn't working anymore, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes in business people felt, oh, he's a nice guy, I can take advantage of him, or
Right.
he's a nice guy, I
Right.
can, he'll put up with my crap, right?
Right.
Type of
Right.
stuff, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, wait a minute, we're gonna we're gonna
Mhm.
have to redefine this, right? We're gonna
Right.
have to
Well, that's
really
when you have
expand
to say,
this,
okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
right? Right.
So,
And
and it is interesting because I even wrote that down. Is nice equated with being a pushover? Or, and it is in a lot of cases. I
right.
read a whole article about if people perceive you as nice, how they can take advantage of you. And, there are people who only come around or only reach out to you when they want something,
Right.
because they consider you nice.
Right. Wow. It's, I guess what's coming up for me is, I think one, it's it's one reason why I think a lot of people aren't nice,
Yeah,
because they don't want to be, seen that way.
sure.
But at the same time, it's what we need in our society. More
Right.
people to be nice, right? So it's
Absolutely.
like it's like, you have this push not to be nice. At
Yeah.
the same time, the world is saying be nice, right?
Yeah. But I think there could be a difference between being, I mean, it's all about setting boundaries,
Right,
because you can be nice
right,
and people know what line they can't cross.
right,
And that depends on how you allow them into your life and into your space.
right,
So it really is all about, because I had to learn that.
right,
Um, Regardless of whether I wanted to be called nice, I think I probably was
right,
considered nice. I mean, I think so. But have that saying, 20% of the people do 80% of whatever needs to be
anything,
done
great, hmm,
in whatever capacity it is. And I came to a point, and I was probably in my mid to late 30s when this happened, because my son was not extremely old,
right,
where I realized I have to stop saying yes.
Hmm.
I have to stop saying yes because I couldn't keep up with everything.
Right.
Um, at some point, and I think it comes with age and maturity,
Right.
that you realize when people are taking advantage of you, or if they, you know, if they're sincere or if they're not.
Right.
And if they are sincere and they really care about you as a person and you say no,
Right.
they're going to be okay with it.
Right.
I think if they're insincere and they're just trying to use you, then you're going to find out who they really are.
Right. No, I had there was a pastor, I think it was T.D. Jakes actually. He had a sermon of you'll find out who people are when you tell them no, right?
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You
Yes,
know,
it's true.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's that. It's like
Yeah.
just tell somebody no. You'll figure out who they are, what
That's
their real intent is, and all
exactly
that other
right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that the one thing with me about, I guess, being nice and showing up as nice and saying yes, that the reason why I don't have a problem with saying yes, ness, right? I said put it all together. Being nice and saying yes is because I put myself in situations. I know enough about myself, and so I put myself in situations where if there's a yes that is needed, I'm in an environment that I want to be in, that I want to
Right.
support, and all that. And most of the times, I don't just show up at places and be ass stuff, right?
Right.
You
Right.
know, and I think that is more about, like you said before, about boundaries,
Mhm.
who we hang out with, what environments we're in, how what conversations that we're having. The more that we are aware of our boundaries and what we'll put up with and not put up with or tolerate, then we can be nice because we've
Mhm.
created that environment to
Right.
be nice and not being taken advantage of,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
all that other kind of stuff. And so it is interesting that it took me for me to, when I would say, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy, it wasn't about I no longer wanted to be nice. It just I wanted to basically put myself in a position where I was making decisions and not the nice guy label.
Right.
Because the
Right.
nice guy label was like, yeah, let's do it, right? Right, what do you need, right? And it's just like, no, stop
What
it,
time shall I show up?
right?
Yeah.
Stop it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We're not doing that, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it is something, and that's why I think it's so important for us to live beyond our labels,
Right.
because
Oh,
the
yeah.
more the more that we are able to live beyond our labels, then we can decide and
Mhm.
not allow the label to decide.
Right.
And I think,
Exactly.
yeah, I think too often we allow, our labels, and especially the, quote unquote, the good labels, to make decisions for us.
Sure.
And it's, the Christian label, the,
Mhm.
all that other, the nice guy, or whatever label that we call nice. We feel that because it's good and it shows us in a good light, I have to allow that label to
Mhm.
to make a decision. But at the end of the day, for me, if I'm not making a decision, I'm not making a decision, right? I can't help it. I can't. I'm not going to be held responsible for this decision because
Yeah.
my nice guy, made
Mhm.
that decision,
Yeah.
and just kind of go from there.
Yeah. I think another thing that I thought about was, does nice also mean that you're kind?
Hmm.
Um, and if it does, is that a weakness or a strength?
Hmm.
Um,
I think for me, um, it depends because
mhm.
looking at um, when there wasn't a level of self awareness, there were some things that I felt were nice to do, and it had nothing to do with being kind.
Right.
It was just, it
Yeah.
was just looking good and all that, all that
Mhm.
other kind of stuff, and having this appearance of something, but
Yeah.
underneath, I was like, I hate it here, right? Or something. It's like, how did I get in this,
Right. How did I
in
get here?
this,
How did I
right?
get here? Yeah.
But there has been definitely times that my niceness, or me showing up as nice, there was kind connected to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Of course.
it is, and being kind and recognizing, and maybe kind showed up first.
Hmm.
Yeah, if the kind label shows up before the nice label, then there's a possibility that kind will stay around, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's an interesting question, actually.
And I think there was a quote. I wrote it down and I'm going to read it because I don't
Okay,
want to blow it
okay,
totally. And it's by Gavin de Becker,
okay,
who is an author and a public figure. He does security special. He's a security specialist also for governments and corporations and everything. He has an
okay.
interesting background, but he says we must learn and then teach our children that niceness does not equal goodness.
Hmm.
Niceness is a decision, a strategy of social interaction. It is not a character trait.
Right. Hmm.
People seeking to control others almost always present the image of a nice person in the beginning.
Right.
And I
Wow.
just, that last sentence, I was like, oh, wow.
Right.
How many times have you met someone and you thought, oh my word, they're so nice?
Right.
And then you find out they're like just one of the worst human beings you've ever met because
Right.
because they really just
Right.
want to take advantage of you.
Right. Yeah. I think it's the same way as kind. There was an article a number of years ago that a good friend of mine shared on her post, about the difference between a nice guy and a good guy.
Yeah.
And I think that was after reading that article, and I can't remember if that's what the article was, but I realized that I no longer wanted to be a nice guy. I wanted to be a
Mm.
good guy.
Yeah.
And I really, and I think, just like that person was saying, I really recognized that there were some days, or some moments, where I would show up as nice or be seen
Mhm.
as nice, but there was a lot of other stuff happening in the background. I wouldn't say manipulation, or trying to, like I said, I just didn't know, but I knew there wasn't consistently good. It was
Mhm.
just kind
Yeah.
of, I'm not a jerk. I'm not all these other things. I'm nice. If we
So,
can just start there, we're
yeah,
we're good.
I think really what it boils down to for me is nice is just mediocre.
Hmm. Wow.
Because if you think about it in context of an event, if you say, so how was, I don't know, how was your vacation?
Right.
Well, if someone says, oh, it was nice,
Right.
I want to say, okay, so what went wrong?
Right. Right. What happened? Right.
Because when I come back from vacation and someone asks me, I want to be able to say, it was fantastic.
Right.
We did this and this and this, and we had such a great
Right.
time. I don't want it to just be nice.
Right. Then
I mean, even if all I did on my vacation was literally unplug
right.
and read,
Right.
if that's what I wanted to do on my vacation,
Right.
that would have been fantastic, that would be a fantastic vacation for me.
Right. And so you wouldn't describe it. It's kind of funny, because even in the current definition of nice, of being pleasant,
Yeah.
right? We
Mhm.
still don't see it as that, right? I mean, it's not even pleasant, right? It's like it's like I can see it's like when someone says fine, it's fine or nice. It's like what happened, Okay, tell me later, right? This is what you can say in public. Tell me what really went
Right,
on.
right. Yeah,
It's
because I
it's
learned a whole new definition for the word fine, and I don't know that I can say it on here. I'll have to tell you later.
right, right, okay. Now I'm like, what? But no, it is just really interesting that I think that's the discomfort.
Yeah.
It's like we want, but I think, I still stand by what I said before, that I think that there needs to be some baseline niceness
Right. And then
that
you
we can agree
build.
to, and
Yeah,
then we can build and we
build.
can have
Exactly.
fabulous and amazing and all those
Wonderful.
other things, or good or kind.
Yeah.
But I think when people don't show up as basic nice,
Nice. Yeah.
pleasant, or almost neutral,
Hmm.
it's like mediocre. That's tough, right? Right. But it is, then we can build from there. It's almost like a set. Yeah, they're nice. I'll get to know this person, but they were nice. Pleasant. I haven't heard the interchangeable, much, but I mean, it's better than the initial networking meeting, and the first response is, oh, they're an ass, right? I mean, so it's just like,
I've had that happen too.
right, right, So I mean, it's like that's below nice, right? And you got a lot of work to do to get up to nice,
Well,
right?
and
Right.
the thing that's so frustrating, is that the right word? Or maybe for me, maybe it's disappointing. That might be the
Right.
word, but disappointing. If they are someone that I have seen on social media
Right.
and their persona
Right.
is one way, and then
Right.
you meet them and they are an ass,
Right.
you're like, holy cow.
Right.
Don't show yourself one way
Right.
for social media just to get whatever it is, likes, business, whatever, and
Right.
then be a totally different person. And that
Yeah.
can happen very often, honestly. I,
Right.
I have had
But it
few.
happens enough to know,
It
right?
does happen. It does happen, yeah, which is very disappointing.
Right. It's I really don't I get it, but I don't embrace the brand you why is that when having yourself as a brand,
Yeah.
because there are so many, um, let's just say, inconsistencies
Right.
in our humanity.
Oh
So
gosh.
we can't, because a brand doesn't like that. A brand like is,
Mm,
this is who you are,
right.
and it's like the reason I desire to show up on social media not as a nice guy, maybe
Hmm.
a thoughtful guy, a caring guy. I try to show up within my values of being, curious,
Hmm.
independent, and compassionate. So
Hmm.
if I show up that way
Yeah.
on my social media, I can show up that way at networking
Oh yeah.
meetings and all that other
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And so there are most of the times when I feel like I am outside of that, I may put like, I think like alert bells, or or something. It's like, hey, this is off brand, right? Right, type of thing. Or and some people think like, oh yeah, that's nothing. That's really, you still, we're there.
Hmm.
But I really think that, like any of our labels, and especially the nice label, since now it has all this baggage to it, right?
Yeah. I know.
That
I just ruined it, didn't I?
right, we are, we are nice and we're not nice,
Yeah.
right? And so the more that I embrace that I can show up for, conversations like this,
Hmm.
networking things, doing
Yeah.
business, as that, so people, you know, like I don't want to say won't look to take advantage of me, or won't look to kind of, or won't just, it creates a place where people can still get to know you. And that is this something that I appreciate about, our emerging, connection and friendship, is that, yes, I've met you in, a networking, situation, but there, of all the people that I have met and connected with, there has been this connection that has lasted, and that even though we're still learning, about each other and growing
Mhm.
within there, the connection is still worth, being
Yeah,
connected, right?
right.
Type of thing. There's a lot of other people that I've met in networking situations that are nice, that I have no desire to
Right.
to connect with
Yeah, yeah.
again, right?
Sure.
For whatever reason, I don't, and I don't know. It may be just because they're nice. It may be because they've never reached out to me again, or maybe the next time they reached out to me, it was buy my stuff, right? And it wasn't anything else, and it was just like, really, I barely know you, right? But it's, so there's a number of things with that. But so, is there, if nice is not, because I'm open to this. If nice is not the baseline, what is the baseline
Hmm.
for interaction, do you think?
I don't know. I think you could make it the baseline.
Right,
I think I'm saying that because that's what anybody that hasn't had this conversation,
right.
that's what their baseline would be.
Hmm. Okay.
In my opinion. I mean, that's just me. I think you want to present yourself as nice, but then, so going back to, I strive to be authentically myself.
Right,
So I always want to be a nice person, but I feel like, I guess the best word I could come up with for describing my personality is maybe a little bit charismatic.
hmm. Okay.
And I'm just doing that off the top of my head. I didn't really even think about it.
Right,
Um, but I love people. I love getting to know people. I like connecting people. So I think for me, it's just showing up with the fact that I enjoy getting to know new people.
right,
And so I'm going to be myself and try to draw out of them who they are
right,
so that I can get to know them.
right. Wow. There's two things that came up when you were sharing that. It's like, nice is like a placeholder.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like, until I
a
figure,
great way to put it.
right. If I see you as if I tell people, or I tell myself that person is nice, that is, the placeholder until I get to know you, right?
Right,
Right?
right, right. Yeah,
Until I know you,
yeah.
then we'll see if you're anything else,
Yeah.
right? Right? Type
So,
of thing.
I'll have to share this because it kind of took me off guard when it happened. But then after I let it settle,
Right.
I was okay with it.
Okay.
I was at the Commerce Club,
Okay.
and a lady was up there who I didn't know then. I do know her now. And I don't remember. I guess it was what I had on.
Right.
And and you can see I like big, dangly, gaudy earrings. So I
Right.
probably had some on.
And I'm solid, white
Yeah,
shirt,
yeah,
black.
yeah. I'm so plain. So, so I walked over to where she was sitting to speak to someone, I think. And she looked at me and went, "Well, aren't you sassy?"
It's like, okay.
And I went, "Okay." And then I walked away after I finished talking to who I was talking, and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, if you are gonna label me sassy, I guess I'll own it, you know?
Right.
I just thought that was interesting because I had never met her.
Right.
And that was the very first impression she had of me.
Right.
And I hadn't even spoken to her. I
Right.
heard it out of my mouth. It was literally
Right.
her looking at me. And
Wow.
so then I did meet her and I've gotten to know her and she's a hoot.
Right.
She really is a hoot. And I love seeing her because we just have a great time together.
Right.
So, you know,
She brings out your sassiness,
she
right?
so
It's interesting that um, that our sometimes our labels are just you know our style are connected with our style, and we have to we can either accept that or reject that,
exactly.
and kind of go from there. So
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting, because in that moment, it could have went a totally different way, right?
Oh, oh. I mean, if that
You want to see
if
sassy? I'll show
I
you
know,
sassy,
right?
right?
Yeah. If that term had, because I don't consider that negative.
Right,
Some people might,
right, absolutely,
but I don't. So if I considered that a negative term, I
right,
could have been very offended.
right,
Um, but I guess too, I think a lot of it has to do with my background and where I came from and how I was raised and all of that. I'm pretty flexible.
right,
I tend to let a lot of things that some people take great offense to just kind of roll off my back.
right,
Um, and I think too, and if anybody follows me on Instagram, I'm pretty real on Instagram.
right,
I'm pretty this is what I'm dealing with. I'm not going to come right out and tell you exactly what I'm dealing with, but you're going
right,
to know if you look at my Instagram, there's something going on.
right,
I'm dealing with and we all do. And I think that's
right,
what
absolutely,
I was thinking about that the other day. We all deal with messy junk in our life.
right, hmm,
And if what I post can encourage somebody else or help them to seek help,
right,
fine. If I never know it, I don't care. But if you are helped because you see that you're not the only person dealing with crap,
right,
then I've succeeded.
right,
So I tend to be pretty real about where I am on Instagram, and um, I think that's important right now because so many of us are dealing with so much, especially right now. I mean, I was thinking too, in relation to the word nice, that
right,
none of us are going to look back at 2020 and say, oh, that was a nice year.
right, right. And we know exactly what that means.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly.
right,
So, we're all dealing with junk.
right,
So don't everything doesn't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to look perfect. We're
right,
not.
right,
So let's just own that
right.
and try to help each other.
Right. I really appreciate you saying that, and I think that is the main reason why I have now, let go of the nice label for me, because I recognize, not just in my life but in my relationships, that that nice label was avoiding the reality,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you know, and it was allowing terrible things to
Mhm.
happen, because if somebody would say that I don't want to say they're in trouble or they're dealing with stuff, it's like, well, that's not a nice conversation to be having right now or something. I mean, it's like, you try to kind of like, okay, just say
Right.
the highlights and all that other kind of stuff, and just kind of go
Mhm.
from there so people can manage that.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
and it was creating things in me that I wasn't really dealing with my life. I wasn't in my life.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice. I was
Yeah.
trying to stay in this neutral, this placeholder,
Mhm.
type of thing,
Yeah.
and wasn't showing up in my life. And like I said, I would look at my relationships, and how I was showing up in my work, and it was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, this I'm just like leaving no mark in
Yeah.
this. There is no awareness that I was here and that I was
Mhm.
doing, um,
Well, and
I was doing anything.
my background, um, as long as everything looks fine, that's all that matters.
Right. Mm, got it.
Just present a good front.
Right.
And
Yeah. Nice front.
as long as everything looks right, you could be going through hell
Right.
inside. But as long as everything looks good, you're okay.
Right.
And I think I'm kind of over that. Um,
Right.
obviously, I don't want to look like I'm just totally
Like a mess. Right.
a total mess. I mean,
Right. Total mess. Right. A little bit of mess is
a
fine.
little
Right.
bit of mess, but I mean, everybody's got mess.
Right. Absolutely.
Everybody's got a
Absolutely.
mess. So, of some form or fashion. And I think the other thing that I've come to realize is just because my mess doesn't look or appear
Mm,
as bad as someone else's mess,
right.
it doesn't lessen the impact that it has on me.
Right. Got it.
So it's okay for us to feel like we don't have everything together and we aren't completely in control. We have to give ourselves permission to be
Right.
that way
Right.
because everyone expects everybody else to look like everything's all put together.
Right.
But for me to be authentically me and also be I'm probably pretty empathetic. Um, I have to be real. I have to own my mess. I have to own all of that stuff because otherwise I'm not going to be of any help to anyone else.
Right. No, I get that. I really appreciate that, and even though I have said within this conversation that nice is needed, but
Mhm.
also not nice is
Right.
needed,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so the more that there is this a realness
Mhm.
in our communication and in our conversations, the more that we can connect on the level that will make a difference.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and no, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but
Yes.
I'm sure there's some nice things that we need to do today, right? But this has really been great. Is there any last thing? I know I'm going to share your Instagram where people can. I was going to say see your mess, but no, see so, yeah, could kind of connect with you and just just kind of to be with you. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you want to leave everybody with?
I don't know. I just really appreciate you inviting me. I really have enjoyed digging into that word. That was very enlightening.
Hmm.
And it made me have to stop and think about how I view it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think everybody just maybe needs to evaluate how nice they are
Hmm.
and decide if they need to amp up their game or not.
Right, right. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So yeah, this has definitely been fun because,
yeah, I
like I said,
enjoyed
I've been letting go that nice guy label for a while, but now I know this is why, right? This is why. So thank you very much. We'll say goodbye in
Thank
in
you.
the green room, but this has been fun.
Yeah.
So great. Thank you. Wow. And I was going to say, this, that was a nice conversation, but it was a fabulous conversation. It is so much more than that. There are so many ways that nice shows up and doesn't show up in my life, and just embracing that, and how nice shows up for me and how nice shows up for you is totally different. And we can use those words and use that word and feel like we're saying something, but it's just a placeholder, before we can really connect, make the connection, and have the conversations that are needed. The Yeah, I really hope that this conversation brought value to your day, to your morning, or whenever you're watching this broadcast. You can have your own conversation like this, not live for everybody else to see, but one on one, to see how you're showing up, for yourself, and in your relationships and in your work at iamwilliambrown.com. Just go to my site and click, and set up a complimentary coaching session with me. It'd be great to talk to you, because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.